Okay, so right now I want you to imagine with me, okay? Close your eyes and I want you to remember your very first concert, okay? Remember your first concert. We're going to talk about it in a second, Katie. So what musician did you see? What music group? Where was it? What year was it? How much were the tickets? Oof. Yeah. So today we are going to talk about concerts.
Yes.
Hi, I am Danny.
I'm Katie.
And you are listening to Generation In Between, a Xennial Podcast. Today we are going to talk about concerts. Like I said, the glory and wonder of concerts in the 80s and 90s specifically. Okay? Yes. So let's get right into it. Katie, tell me, what was your first concert?
Okay, so I closed my eyes and I envisioned, and if you can picture this, let's go to 12-year-old Katie. So that would have been like 1994. I was in middle school, and I had this amazing friend, Jackie. So we still keep in contact. So Jackie, if you're listening, I think this was your first concert too. Her mom took us. Hey, Jackie. Hey, girl. And we went and saw the group Immature.
Yes, you did.
And I don't know if you all remember them. Their most famous song was Candy Rain.
Yes.
Yes. So look it up.
Sing it. Wait, sing it. Just a little.
My love, do you ever dream of?
Yes, I love it.
I loved that song.
God,
I'm
so
guessing they had other songs because we went to a whole concert. But I don't remember much else. I just remember that we went with her mom, and it was like super fun. What about you? What was your first concert?
Oh, mine, Katie, was New Kids on the Block.
Oh my God.
Yes, I'm fairly certain it was their Step by Step tour, right? Because Hangin' Tough was the album before that, and this was like when they were humongous. So it was like, I want to say, I can't remember the exact year. It was 88, 89. So I was 4th, 5th grade. Okay. So I think it was.
Sounds about right.
Step by Step. Yeah. We can't sing too much on here because copyright.
Yes, exactly.
We don't want to get in trouble. It was at the Superdome in New Orleans. So I grew up right across Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans in a town called Slidell. So holler to the Dell. Okay. I actually grew up in a really amazing area for live music during this time because all the major like concert tours came to the Superdome. That was like, you have one in every city, big city. Yeah. They all came there, and we also have lots of festivals down there. Okay. So, Jazz Fest is a big one. We had French Quarter Fest. We like to party in Southern Louisiana, so everything's a festival.
Can confirm. I have been there, yes.
But also what we had a lot of back in that time was, and I'll talk more about this later, was radio stations had big music festivals. And this was like prime time, more so like early, mid, late 90s was like the heyday for these. And everything was affordable, if you can imagine that.
Yep. I grew up outside of Chicago. And
you too then.
A lot of the radio stations would have like these summer fests. Obviously, Chicago has Lollapalooza as well.
Oh, yes.
And that was happening. I know Lilith Fair came through when I was like middle school, high school. But that was like the most affordable way to like, usually there'd be like one or two big names you knew.
Right.
And then maybe there were like all these other unknowns that would maybe become known later, and you could go for like $20.
$20 general admission.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no price tiers. It was one price for everybody paid the same. Can you imagine that? Because let me tell you what, I looked up Jazz Fest tickets like last summer. Holy smokes. Hundreds of dollars. I mean,
really?
Yeah. And we used to, okay, this is a funny story. When I was in choir in high school,
I don't know why I'm laughing.
I was in choir I have the weirdest stories. Y'all are gonna know.
Can't even guess where this is going. But
it's go on. It's gonna be great. I have a lot of those. This podcast. We would go on a field trip to Jazz Fest. I swear to God, it was approved. All the things. Okay, when I was in high school, until 1 year. 1 year, and I want to believe. I think it was my sophomore year. It was my second time going on the field trip. So it must have been my sophomore, junior year. I don't remember. We had a kiddo's brother come and be a chaperone who was like a college kid. I mean, he was probably 22 tops, if that. And he got hammered.
Oh my God.
Completely drunk. Like really. And if any of my high school people listening, I don't talk to a lot of y'all right now, but if any of y'all remember who that was, send me a message because I cannot remember. Yeah. So after that, we didn't get to go anymore. After a drunk chaperone.
I mean, I feel like, couldn't you just, although, we live in Florida, the state of permission slips at this point, but that's a whole other podcast for another day. But couldn't you just get around that by like having chaperones sign something, or
I don't know,
like just banning the chaperone? Like, I don't know.
I'm assuming my choir director probably did not want to deal with the BS from it. So
yeah, that's fair.
Especially, I mean, you're already bringing all these teenagers that you have to make sure aren't doing bad things, right. Which happened.
Of course.
So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so that's just kind of where we're going today. We're going to kind of relive some of our glory days.
Love it.
And also kind of talk about what happened to tickets. Because I was telling my teenager, and you probably had similar conversation with your teens, it is not the same anymore. No, it is not. You cannot see live music like you used to be able to, which really makes me feel old that I just said that. But listen, here's some of the live music I remember seeing, either in a concert or at a music festival just in the late 80s and the entire 90s. I started thinking of like the 2000s too, but I stopped there. So I saw New Kids, like I just said. I had a very short-lived country music phase, which I hate country music, everyone. But in the mid-90s, when it was like mainstream, I kind of dug my toe in a bit.
So country music fans, you can at Danny.
Yeah, just at me. I don't care.
What she just said.
Tell me whatever you want. I don't like it.
That was her. That was Danny. No,
it was Danny, not Katie.
But she likes Garth Brooks, so there's that.
But listen, I saw Garth Brooks twice in that time frame, and I still to this day will say he is the best live performer I have ever seen. So I can appreciate him as an artist. All right. I also saw Alanis Morissette on her Jagged Little Pill tour. I saw No Doubt. That was the first time I was ever in a mosh pit. Had to be rescued. Yep.
Wait, so listeners, she's pretty small person.
I am 5'2"
right now. How big were you when you were rescued from the mosh pit?
This size.
5'2". Okay.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I was probably this exact size. I have not changed much. I was with two friends because this was also back in the day where your parents would just drop you off places. No cell phone. Maybe a pager. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
And they would just come back at a certain time. So I was with two girlfriends of mine. And yeah, we got in the mosh pit and the security guard had to lift me up. I was fine. Then I saw 311. I saw Better Than Ezra. I have a whole story with that. Dishwalla was another one I saw. They never got super big, and now I can't even remember their song. I'd have to look it up. Jill Sobule was one, and I met her. Bush. I saw Backstreet Boys 3 times.
Wow.
One of those times was in 2000, but I'm going to count it anyway. I have a really good story for that too. I saw Creed. I saw Live. And I saw Aaliyah.
Oh my God. I wish I had seen Aaliyah.
Disney used to do this grad night celebration. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I think it still might.
I don't know if they do anymore. Somebody let us know. But they shut down the parks for one night, and then they have seniors from all over the country come, and they have all these concerts and fun things. And she was there, Christina Aguilera was there, Backstreet Boys was there, so I guess I saw them 4 times. And this was in 1998, so it was like prime time for all of them. It was so much fun. So yeah, so what about you? Tell me some of yours.
I'd say like the same time frame that you were just describing. Obviously, Immature was my first one. I did see NSYNC, No Strings Attached tour, but was that 2000?
It was, and that I stopped because I was like, I wrote that. Yeah, it was 2000 when I saw
2000.
That. So it counts, but
it's just right at the turn. And then I actually saw Britney Spears' first tour, the Hit Me One More Time tour in 97 before she blew up.
97, so
it was a small
pre-breakdown.
It was a small venue, like I could like see her up close.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we'll cover her more in depth on another episode. But
Katie's also wearing a Britney tank top today, by the way.
I am a Britney super fan, probably because of seeing her on that tour, and I've gone on to see her several other times. But during that time frame, that was that. I saw Backstreet Boys just one time. In our radio station where I'm from, the big kind of hip hop, kind of pop music, top hits or whatever was B96.
We had a B97.
Oh, wow.
Get out of here. That's
maybe
so
they're
crazy.
Cousins. They're cousin radio
and that
stations.
was like our big pop
so
hits radio station.
Wow.
Get out of here. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so B96, and they would have, I think it was just called like the Summer Bash or something like that, and I went a couple years in a row with friends, and I saw Eiffel 65, I saw Eminem one year there, I saw Brian McKnight.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I remember being like 16 maybe and just bawling my eyes out.
I'm sure.
Because Brian McKnight is like got the most transcendent voice in the whole world. Like
so smooth.
It's like I couldn't believe I was listening to a voice. Like I still remember that because he sounds great in his recordings, but like live I just was like, anyway, so Brian McKnight, if you're listening,
You're amazing.
Katie.
Yeah.
At Katie, please. Those are the main ones. Like I saw more like into my college years, which were going into the 2000s, but I saw some of the big ones there. My parents aren't big music listeners, which is kind of funny because I'm like a musician and like really into music and things like that. But like we didn't listen to a lot of music in my house growing up, and they didn't go to concerts. So I think like I wasn't really able to go until I was like old enough to kind of do what you said, like go with other families or get dropped off.
Same for me, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, so but those are my big ones.
Although I did get to go see New Kids because my parents were like in the process of getting a divorce, which is sad. But it was like, and if any of you kids out there have been through a divorce, you know, like one of your your parents sometimes try to buy your love, which sounds terrible, but also it's lovely because that's how my sister and I got to go see New Kids on the Block.
It helps you cope, right? I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah. So anyways. Yeah, so again, we've both seen lots of great music during that time. Yeah, local festivals was a big deal because you would pay one price and see just this list of artists, you know? So how much do you remember paying for tickets for one of those? Do you remember?
I feel like maybe Backstreet Boys and then into NSYNC were a little bit higher, maybe the $40 range. But for the most part, I think even my Britney ticket, which I have somewhere, maybe I'll find it for our socials, was maybe $15.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
so
it was
I can
really
remember
cheap.
like for the festivals, it was like $20-$25, but it was all day. Like it was all day, and like I said, everybody's
and you just kind of wander. I remember wandering from like one stage to another, like anywhere you could like find a spot to stand or sit or whatever, and then like the big groups would be on like the big stage, but then you could go to like the side stages, and there were like local groups, and it was just like everywhere you looked. Yeah. So, which is probably like for you younger people out there, if there's any young people listening, you're probably like $20-$25. I mean, granted, inflation, obviously, but also some things have changed. We'll talk about that in a minute. I actually found I was going through some old things trying to see if I had any old concert stubs. So I don't have a whole lot of stuff from my childhood because Hurricane Katrina hit my hometown and a lot of my childhood stuff was gone. But I actually did have some stuff in storage that my mom had in like a, tote thing. So I didn't find like my New Kids, but I did find some from like 99, 2000s era. So here's the prices. I just want to share how different it is. So Backstreet Boys was November of 99. Okay.
So I'm going to tell you the story of that here in a minute. That was at the New Orleans Lakefront Arena, not the Superdome. It was $38.50. The only service fee I paid was $4.75.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Katie's going to talk to us a little bit more about modern day tickets when we talk about Taylor Swift in a little bit.
Yes.
So buckle up. Get ready for that. So then I saw NSYNC not too much long after that. It was in May of 2000 in the Superdome. Uh-oh.
So sorry. Let's pause. I was just going to look up ticket fees for Taylor Swift to be ready. And I was listening to a Broadway song earlier.
I love it.
So I would go back to
I'll go back to NSYNC.
Yeah.
Okay. So NSYNC I saw just a few months after I saw Backstreet Boys. I lucked into that ticket. Thanks Danielle, my old friend who came through with that ticket for me back in the day. We went in May of 2000. We were at the New Orleans Superdome. The ticket was $39.75. The service fee was $3. No joke.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Then when I was in college, I saw Creed, who I totally forgot I ever even saw. That's how much of an impact their concert lasted on me. Okay. Yeah. So they were the opposite of Garth Brooks.
Right.
So
underwhelmed.
I totally forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, and also I was of legal drinking age when I went to see them. So it's a little different.
Yes.
I saw them in January of 2002. In Shreveport, Louisiana, it was $42.50 for the ticket and a $5 fee. So that is just insane to me to think how low those service fees were.
Wow.
So let's talk about how we bought tickets back in the day, right?
Yes.
All right.
The
so
actual how.
The actual how. Because, like, y'all who have internet power do not even know what we went through to buy tickets, especially for, like, hot artists of the time. So here was my experience with ticket buying. So you had to go to an actual box office, right? You either went to the box office at wherever you were going to the concert at, or they had box offices other places. Ours in my hometown was at the mall, at the customer service area of JCPenney's.
I feel like same. It was somewhere in the mall.
Something like that, yeah?
We had a store, it was like local to the Midwest, Carson Perry Scott, which was similar to like a Macy's or whatever. It. And I believe that was our box office at our mall.
Yeah, so that's where you went to buy your tickets. You could only buy tickets during the mall hours, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen a lot of times when local law enforcement would let you do this was you would wait in line outside the mall entrance, and you'd wait in line overnight, whenever they would let you, and you'd wait in line, and then the doors open, where they opened all over the country for that tour, and you'd go in and you'd just wait in line and get whatever tickets you could. Sometimes you'd be there all night and you'd get no tickets.
I know. Yeah. Right? I mean, so true. Yeah.
And it's just like sitting, but at least now you get to sit in your house on your nice comfy chair.
You still might not get them, but
at least you, So my time I saw Backstreet Boys, which was in 1999, I was in college, but I was home visiting for the summer, I think. And I had to buy tickets for me and a few of my sorority sisters. You're welcome, girls, because it was so hot. So it was August in South Louisiana. All right.
Yeah.
And I stayed in line outside that JCPenney's for 18 hours minimum. And I still got horrible seats.
How many did you buy?
I think the limit was like 5, maybe 6. And it was just me because all my sorority sisters didn't live nearby. Because I went to school like 6 hours away. So I was like, I'll get them because it was in New Orleans. So I was like, I'll get the tickets. So they just, gave me money or whatever. Yeah. And I still got horrible seats.
Oh my gosh. But I bet you were like so excited that you.
Oh my gosh. Now I will say the excitement of buying tickets that way is way better than.
Totally.
But guess what? So it's a disappointment. Like you think you're disappointed after you sit on your computer in your nice air conditioned house.
And I couldn't even get on the wait list for Taylor Swift this next time, which we can revisit.
It's coming. It's coming.
Oh boy. Yeah. But you're totally right. Now, I don't recall ever doing that exactly. I feel like I got kind of lucky, like either friends, families got tickets and I went with them. I don't know if my mom ever told me the story of the NSYNC tickets, but I know she got them for me somehow. And I don't know if she actually went down to the box office because I remember I didn't expect them because as I mentioned, like we didn't really like go to concerts or like listen to music in my house. And I remember being like super surprised.
Aww.
Like she was like, I have like 4 NSYNC tickets to this tour. And I was like, huh?
Yeah, Mom.
Yeah, go mom. But I don't know. I don't remember the story behind it. Like if she waited from or somehow snagged them some other way.
Mom magic. That's how.
Mom magic. She didn't tell me. You don't see
magic.
what goes on behind the curtain or whatever, right?
You just don't know.
You just don't know.
Yeah, you know, my parents were my mom was super into country music.
Okay.
Probably why I don't like it now, because I was like inundated with it. Like she listened to like Randy Travis and Travis Tritt and like Reba, and she loved it. But she didn't do a lot of like live. She didn't like a lot of live music concerts. My dad passed when I was 11, so I don't really know. I mean, he took us to New Kids.
So there you go.
He listened to a lot of classics. Like he loved 50s, 60s music. So I remember listening to a lot of that, and bluegrass. He's from North Carolina. So I grew up listening to all of that. But I will say my mom was pretty cool about me going, because I was real into music and arts and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus she was a single mom and worked all the time. So if I had something to do with other people and we were 1980s and 1990s supervised.
Right.
Which means somebody's parent just drove you.
Someone else was taking you and picking you up.
Right, exactly. Somebody had your transportation covered is how parenting works back then.
Exactly.
Anyway, so that's kind of interesting that we both kind of had that and we went kind of the other way. Well, my kids, I feel bad for them because they haven't seen any live music because it's so expensive.
It is.
It's so expensive. And we have moved around a lot. We are prior military, so we haven't lived in a lot of places where it was easy to access, right? We lived in a lot of small towns. So anyway, so let's talk about like, what's the deal now? Okay. What is the deal with these crazy prices?
Right.
Not just for concerts or festivals, but like Broadway. Okay. Katie and I are both performers, so we love us some Broadway shows, and it ain't easy to see those either.
And it's really hard to get tickets too, particularly if you're in Broadway proper, like New York City.
For real.
Because those theaters, you know, especially in New York, they're old and they're small, you know, and so it really is sort of an elite thing to even be able to get a ticket to some of those shows. Like, you know, Hamilton comes to mind.
100%.
Even if you're willing to pay a bunch, you still sometimes can't get a ticket to Hamilton, and let alone if you can't afford it. You know?
I mean, that's a whole other thing we can talk about is elitism and seeing live anything.
I will say, like, just as a disclaimer, like, particularly when it comes to, like, Broadway and stuff, I'm all in favor of, like, artists making what they should earn, as well as pop artists being paid for their music. But I have a feeling what we're going to uncover, what you're going to get into here, is that, like, a lot of the money we're paying isn't going to them.
You got it, girlfriend.
I have no problem, like, paying an actor to perform for me.
Oh,
I think they should earn, you know, way more than a living wage, but unfortunately I have a feeling that's not always the case. But I'm gonna kick it back to you, Danny.
Yeah, it's true, and that's gonna come up, and we will talk about that. So what the deal is, bottom line, we'll go into some details. Bottom line is two things. Number one is inflation, because that is just a fact. And number two is our old friend capitalism.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
So we have a joke in my house that, like, whenever we talk about problems that are going on, and it'll happen in this podcast, I'll be like, you know what the problem is with that? You know what the bottom line is? It's two things. Patriarchy is one, and capitalism is the second one.
The other.
So those are like taglines in my house, and I live in a house full of males. So like,
so they love those?
They love those, but it's become a running joke. But this is legit. Like, sometimes I just say it just to be obnoxious. But
I think it's, what is it? You're wrong about. They have like shirts and stuff that say like, it was capitalism all along. Yeah, it's that same vibe, right?
But you know why? America. Okay. So here's the deal. We're just gonna kind of talk. I mainly focus on like Ticketmaster because and Live Nation, because they are. You'll see why they're kind of like the monopoly of tickets in our country. So here's the deal. They merged together. Ticketmaster and Live Nation merged together in 2010. Concert promotion used to be small scale, and it was very regional, kind of like what we were talking about, like festivals and stuff like that, until the late 90s. So in our heyday of seeing music was when it was still kind of small scale regional. It was all done regionally, sort of. Ticketmaster used to handle the selling of actual tickets, and then Live Nation was like the events promoter. Okay. So they like hired the artists and put on the shows. So those were like two separate jobs in the entire industry. It was two different companies doing two different things. They kind of worked in tandem, I guess, is the way to explain it.
Right.
So when they merged, it became the biggest concert company ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Like nobody could even come close.
So it created a monopoly of sorts, and we'll talk about that in a second. And just to kind of give you a little picture here, in 2018, Live Nation / Ticketmaster handled 80 of the top 100 U.S. venues.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me that ain't a monopoly.
Yeah, that's
right?
crazy. Yeah, that's a lot.
So you can't research concert tickets without this coming up. As you remember, the beginning of this year, this is yeah. crucial to Katie, okay? There was a Senate hearing about this very problem after the Taylor Swift debacle. And we're going to go into that because I want you to talk on that a lot. She's a self-proclaimed Swiftie.
Yes.
I love Taylor Swift, but I'm not a Swiftie, and I will not pay exuberant amount of money to see her. So I love her. I think she's great. But Katie's going to give us a little personal insight on that. But, okay, that wasn't the first time, though, that Ticketmaster has been called out on being shady. Okay? This has happened before. So in 1994, I remember this. Pearl Jam, it was big, big, big. Pearl Jam sued them for this exact thing, sort of. They said they had a monopoly, and this was even before the Live Nation merge. Okay, this was before.
Yeah, this was what, like
this was 94
years before or something like that. Yeah.
So they were like, Ticketmaster has this monopoly. Like they didn't like it. They felt it was limiting, their fans. It was limiting them. All this stuff. They caused this big thing. Guess what happened? So they tried to sell tickets without using Ticketmaster venues, and it went horribly. Okay. Ugh. It went horribly. It was too hard. So guess what? They eventually gave up and went back to Ticketmaster.
Oh, my God.
They did. They sold out my beloved Pearl Jam. And again, capitalism reigns its ugly head because dun, 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 America. So that wasn't the first time they've been in trouble. And that was pre-merger. They also got in trouble in 2019. They had like secret partnerships with some scalpers. Yes, I couldn't find all the specific details, but Billboard reported that Ticketmaster would secretly bypass placing tickets for sale, like on the primary market, and instead they would put them on the resale sites.
Oh my gosh.
Shady.
I never even heard about that.
Right? Well, a lot of this is not like super widely. They've done a good job like covering up their mess. Somewhat. They've gotten in trouble for deceptive pricing. More than one time. Yeah, more than one time. They also got in trouble. This was interesting to become aware of for competitor computer hacking. Yeah, they paid a $10 million fine in 2020. So not that long ago. After they were charged with it.
So what does that mean? They were spying on competitors?
Yeah. They like found a way to hack into their, I couldn't find the details to look in my notes.
But essentially that's what it means.
But yeah, they hacked into competitors.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And they didn't deny it. They just paid their little $10 million fine because
whatever. Change.
Right.
Yeah.
Because capitalism.
We're going to keep spying on them. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the deal, though. Usually when they have big mergers like this, I mean, there's, things in place to prevent monopolies from happening, supposedly.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
In our country, the government usually ensures that the new company will protect the consumers. But of course, companies are great at finding ways around that. Right? Yeah. So the Justice Department did require the company to agree to some rules. One was that Ticketmaster was not allowed to force venues to sign ticketing deals by threatening access to the Live Nation tours.
Okay. So essentially that means if a venue was not signed with Ticketmaster or Live Nation, it could still be used for the artist.
Right. But guess what? Surprise, surprise. They found ways to do it anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And indirectly, and then they got investigated. So I say all this to say they have a shady past.
Yes,
because corporate greed. And we talked about ticket pricing. And in all fairness, though, Katie, I will say it isn't all Ticketmaster's doing this. Artists we are talking about, they're kind of a piece of the puzzle too. And some days
Definitely.
they are part of the problem, which sucks because it's all like a cycle. So this is what I kind of found like a breakdown of how ticket pricing goes. So you have the face value of the ticket. Mm-hmm. That is determined by the artist or the client or whatever. That's determined.
Okay.
That's where they have their input. Then you have all these other things. You have the facility charge. Mm-hmm. That's what the venue decides on. So like if I'm having a concert at the Superdome, they get to decide what is the facility charge.
Like per person.
I guess. I don't know. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like collective. I'm sure it is per person. I guess they take into account like how many seats.
Or they average it or something. Yeah. And you just tack it on. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. And then they have delivery fee, which is kind of becoming, obsolete these days. Everybody prints them at home or you have them on your phone. But they still charge you that even if you have e-tickets. I was hoping you could find your Swift tickets.
See.
Look for it while I continue talking about this.
Keep going.
Just to see because I haven't gone to a concert recently. Then they have the service fee, and this is where things get a little sticky. So the service fee is like a sum of charges based on quote unquote an agreement with the client.
Okay.
And then the order processing fee is also included in that. That order processing fee is where Ticketmaster can earn a profit. So the service fee is kept separate from the list price for two reasons. One is to make the base price of the ticket seem more affordable. You know how we get sucked in and we'll be like, oh, well, this ticket's only $39. And then you see all the extra things. Mm-hmm. The other reason the service fee is kept separate is because it kind of creates the impression that Ticketmaster only pockets that fee when that's not true. They pocket things from other variables as well. So again, shadiness. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's get into the Taylor Swift debacle. Are you ready? Could you find it?
Yes.
So here comes where I want you to pop in and just tell me your experience with this. So for those of you who are not Swifties and who are not up on pop music info, right? Tell us what happened. Okay, so in January 2003, I'm going to say what happened, and you can tell me how they got here. There was a Senate judiciary hearing, plus there were fans individually suing Ticketmaster and Live Nation directly because there was like this whole mess with Taylor Swift tickets. So tell us what happened, Swiftie fans.
Yes, so my basic understanding, and I'm sure there's more nuances than this, is essentially that Ticketmaster was accused of kind of deceptive practices when it came to, this was the first round of sales of tickets for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, which there have been there have been more rounds since then. And basically saying that like sort of bots and scalpers and those types of things were getting in and sort of buying up most of the tickets and being allowed to.
Right.
And then like the average people were not able to get in and get tickets to the point that like it was investigated. And so the idea was that they were buying them all up to sort of resell them to sort of inflate the prices for the concerts.
Which is valid. They've gotten in trouble for that before.
Yeah. So that was kind of the main accusation. And also just that like it wasn't set up to properly accommodate the amount of people that were expected to buy tickets. And it was like the waiting rooms and things like that weren't operating as they were supposed to.
So were you in that whole...
I was actually not.
Okay.
I had decided before those even went on sale that I wasn't even going to try.
Oh, okay.
Because I did not want to pay hundreds of dollars. I have 4 daughters. I don't know if they all would have wanted to go, but it's not like the kind of situation where I can just buy like 2 tickets and call it good.
Right.
I would have had to buy like 5 or 3 or whatever.
Sell a child.
And I love Taylor Swift. I saw her Reputation tour in Miami, and she was fantastic. And I did want to see her again, but I was also like, well, I've seen her.
Right.
I'm like, it's like $2,000 or nothing, so I'm not going to do this. And I didn't. I ended up getting lucky because a friend who had gotten, so that was the other thing. There was this whole layer of people that got early access to tickets.
Right. Elitism again.
Of which I had a friend, and she, I love her, and I'm happy for her because I got to end up going. But she, I think because she was in an American Express club, which again, it's like a certain amount that you spend, she was able to get early access to 6 tickets. Originally, it was her and her daughter, and then 2 other moms and 2 daughters. The week of the concert, the Eras Tour going to Tampa, one of the women, her daughter couldn't go anymore because she had a dance competition that they didn't have the time for yet, and they got the time that week, and it conflicted.
That poor girl.
I know, right?
Oh,
to her credit, kids are
imagine.
amazing. The kid was basically like, well, I would rather go to my dance competition.
Oh,
I've been
yay.
working on it all year. I know, she's such a great kid. But the mom was like, well, Dad's gonna take you because I'm gonna go to Taylor Swift.
Oh, I would too.
So I was able to snag that other ticket, and because there was only one, there was no like debacle with my daughters or anything. It was just like, Mom's going. That's it.
Hilarious. You're like, peace out, girls. Going to Swift.
Seriously, my one daughter, my daughter London, who's 14, she was like real mad. I think she's still mad. I mean, she understood,
Well, sure.
but she was like, this is crazy, like whatever. So, but to be fair, like I do love Taylor Swift. I have a beautiful hat that says Swiftie across it. I should be wearing it right now, but I'm not.
Then you'd have on Britney and Taylor.
I'd have. Oh wow. I know that would be such a
Check
vibe.
it.
Wow.
We really are middle-aged white ladies.
Exactly.
In case you're doubting.
We seriously are. And my Britney shirt's purple and my Swiftie hat's pink.
There you
and
go. Oh,
it's
done.
It's
It's done.
just all the things. But I was kind of like, enough is enough, and it's too much money. Like, it was just too much. It wasn't just the money.
Right.
The money is a huge part of it. It was the whole
thing.
The whole, I gotta wait in a thing,
Uh-huh.
and like, it's like cutthroat even if you're in your air conditioning on your computer.
yeah.
And then now I'm part of a text thread, and did you get it? Did you not? And I was just like, at that moment, with everything going on in life, I was like, yeah, no. If I could go down to my little Carson Peary Scott box
See?
office and stand there
Camp
for 10
out,
hours
man.
and get like a normal price ticket, I maybe would have done it. But the
Right.
whole idea of just like trying to somehow get it on the internet, and then once I get to the checkout, I owe $3,500 and like whatever. I was just like, no.
Yeah. But you
I'm
got
not doing
lucky.
it.
So look
but
at
I got
you.
lucky. So it worked
You know,
out.
that speaks on something that drives me crazy with any kind of, like we were talking about, live performing, is that even back in the day getting tickets, there was an element of privilege there, right?
Yeah.
You have to have, like, there's an element of privilege to be able to even see live art, live performing art.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that. Like, now granted, there are a lot of people out there doing good things in this realm. Lin-Manuel's one. He has, I don't know if he's still doing the Hamilton. I need to do research on that before I speak on
Like
it.
for
but,
schools, for schools. I think he is. Yeah.
But that just, again, though, that is what capitalism is. I mean, the rich get richer and have the privileges. And like, you know, the pre-sales, like you said,
Right.
that's who gets all the good tickets because you already are in like the income bracket to have the card to get you the access to.
Yep.
It's this whole ugly cycle, and I don't even know how to break it. I don't even know. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to complain about the problem, but I have zero idea of the solution.
Exactly,
okay?
right?
That's how I live my life.
Yes, everyone. That's basically sometimes what these episodes are going to be.
Yes.
Us being like, but we have no solutions
I am
whatsoever.
super good, and that brings me to the closing on this thing. I'm really good at pointing out problems. And then it's like, well, how do we fix that? Well, I don't know. I just want you to know what's wrong. Like,
Right.
Let me just tell you what the problem is.
If someone gives me a Taylor Swift ticket again, am I going to go? Sure.
I mean,
Am
right.
I gonna-
and then I'm a huge hypocrite because it's like, I
Right.
hate all this. Oh, do you want me to go? Sure. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, and then I go the little merchandise thing.
Spend $500
yeah,
on a
I got my
t-shirt.
T-shirt. I will say, like, the Broadway shows that we see, we're lucky because we're by Orlando, so we can go to Dr.
Yes.
Phillips and see some of these amazing traveling shows. I think I've seen 7 or 8 just in the past year, and that gets expensive too. But like, I'm at the point in my life where I would rather pay a lot to go see that like 5 or 6 times than see like Taylor Swift one time.
Oh, for sure.
You
Me
know,
too.
like I would
Same,
rather do that.
Same.
And but the merchandise always gets me.
Oh, yeah.
Like the merchandise for Hamilton, Brian will have to give me a thumbs up if I'm right. I think it was like $300 or something.
Oh, girl.
for all of us.
I get it.
It was like we all got the hoodie.
I
And then
know.
we got
It's
the mug.
so hard.
and
My
then-
husband's so good about never buy, like, and when I go to Disney, I love to buy like Disney crap that I don't need.
Mm-hmm.
Same it. Like, oh, of course I need a Hamilton mug and tote bag and
Right.
whatever else, shoes,
Yeah.
whatever you want to sell me, I'm probably going to buy it. And then I'm
Yeah.
going to get home and be like, Why did I do that?
It's like I have 100 of these or whatever it is. I will say I wear the t-shirts.
I do see you wear your stuff.
I wear them. Yeah.
You do.
And I'm a voice teacher too and a vocal director. So usually like when I'm getting dressed for those types of things, I'm like, okay, I'll wear my Hamilton shirt or my Hadestown shirt or Six.
So it's workwear.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I could put it in a bracket, but sorry to digress. But yeah, that was my that was my take on Taylor Swift. I know you have a little more like
well, not really.
What
it's
actually
just what happened. So what happened was basically what you said. The reason they had a Senate Judiciary hearing was like I was talking about them being a monopoly. Okay, that kind of was a huge mess, broke the internet, all the things, and enough people said enough things to where they brought it to have a Senate Judiciary hearing, which is just where they talk about the problem. Okay, they don't make any actions; they just talk about it. So no surprise, there were people on all sides of the things, and they talked about it. But that was in January. We're in what month are we in? September. So what has happened since then? Okay, so let me tell you what Ticketmaster / Live Nation has done since then. They did invest in technology to kick out the bots, like you were talking about. That was. Okay. Basically, their response to the hearing was a lot of finger pointing, which is, again, unsurprising from a big corporation that's doing great. Since February, they have pushed for some legislation through its Fair Ticketing Act, and that kind of points to issues in like the secondary market. Again, finger pointing. Nothing has really come from that. They have called to ban speculative ticketing strategies. I just have like a tongue weirdness there. Basically, that's where scalpers list tickets that they don't own yet.
I've never even heard of that.
Either.
That's terrifying.
Why are people so shady? I'm serious. So they're trying to ban that from happening. Now, how they're going to do that, I don't know. They're just making the call to do that. Okay, great. So then they encourage regulators to protect artists' ability to limit resale. So the scalpers have less power. So it sounds like they're doing things to take away the power from scalpers because they do have a lot of power right now.
Yeah, for sure.
They advocated, this was an interesting thing I learned. They advocated for increased enforcement of the Bots Act. This makes using bots to buy massive numbers of tickets illegal. But get this, that act has only been enforced once since 2016.
Oh my God. And it happens like
all
the time,
right?
Around the clock. Yeah.
So basically, like I said, a lot of finger pointing. There's some action, but not a lot. Some representatives are pushing to break up the company, like actually break up under Section 7 of the Clayton Act or Section 2 of the Sherman Act. Without boring you with a bunch of language, that's just both about monopolies existing. Okay. So you have to prove that it exists, and then you can use those acts to break it up. Wow. So I'm sure there's a whole giant legislative process to go through to break up a company that big.
I can't even imagine, like, just the time, like, it'll be years before they can even do it if they even get there.
Yeah.
And then you figure, what's interesting about particularly how things are set up in America, capitalism, is that these corporations last a long time, but your elected representatives don't.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, even if things like get started, someone new comes in, things get changed, and I think a lot of, especially the big corporations, just sort of bank on that.
I know.
Oh, let them introduce that thing that's going to take
forever, and then
12 years to happen, and by then we've had like 3 different representatives, and you know, it stinks, and I feel like a lot of times it really does come down to the consumers having to, you know, take action, but how?
Right.
Because we want to see Taylor Swift, or we want to see Beyonce, or we want to see
Beyonce's that's another one.
And even some of the ones that aren't like the superstars, like the smaller names, or like the retro groups that are coming back, you know, and they just want to do a tour or whatever, like even those.
Right.
I mean, everyone wants to go see the band they loved in the 80s or 90s, you know? And so how do we even, like you said, we don't have a lot of answers.
Yeah, and that was like my last little note in this was there's a lot of identified problems, but not a whole lot of identified solutions.
Yes.
Which is basically our country in a nutshell, America. Like, oh, we have all these problems, but how are we going to fix it?
And I feel like to be fair, in the 80s and 90s, I think we probably complained about even having to stand outside and like,
oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure we were like, oh, there's got to be a better way. And I do feel like when things, just in general, when things started to go online, everything, tickets, shopping, whatever, I think we were all like, oh yeah, this is better.
So
this
much
is
better.
whatever. And then when we kind of like break it down now, all the little fees that get pulled into that, the cost and like the toll of all of it, I don't know which way was better.
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
That's the Xennial question, isn't
That's
it?
the Xennial question. That's the Xennial
Which
question.
way was better? Because it depends who you ask, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun little
trip
blast
down.
from the past. And I've got my friends from the Taylor Swift concert looking to see if they have their paper ticket. So if we do have that, we'll do more of a breakdown on our socials and show you the picture of that. So
yes,
and
absolutely.
definitely hit us up there. Tell us what your first concert was, or if you
Yes.
have
Pictures.
pictures of your tickets or whatever. We'd love to see them. I know my husband has a few. We'll have to look at those too.
I love.
He's got
Yes,
some good
I want to
ones.
see the old pictures. I was texting Katie as I was going through my stuff, and I found scrapbooks. And I'll just say this: my children out there, you are never allowed to look at mom's scrapbooks from college. It's just not happening.
I've got a few of those myself. I don't know if they're scrapbooks, but I have a few like photo albums, and I'm like,
bless. Well, that was in the days of like getting your film developed. Okay, no phone cameras. We'll talk about all that another time.
Yes, I often think about like the people who that was their job, like developing film, like the stuff they must have
can
seen.
you imagine? I can't.
If they were even like, they're probably desensitized to it after a while.
I'm sure they probably had to throw some stuff away.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways, okay. You have anything other concert fun stories?
I don't know. I can't really think of any. I mean, I've seen concerts like more recently, so it's funny you said Reba. Because,
so who have you seen recently? That's a fun thing.
So I went and saw Reba McEntire about a year ago. It was last fall, and I really wanted to go, and the friends I asked weren't able to go, so I flew by myself from Orlando to Nashville and checked into a hotel and went and saw her at the Bridgestone Arena. And it was amazing. I'm not like a huge country fan, but I've always loved Reba. And when I was maybe like 10, 11, 12, one of my really good friends, her family listened to country music, and her and I really got into like some of her music. So it was a really fun concert where I just like,
I love
sang
that you
everything.
did that by yourself.
Yeah, I saw it by myself. I went for
That's
the weekend.
so fun.
And kind of like just like walked around Nashville. Well, again, like, being a woman and all of that, I went to the concert and I like deliberately got a hotel like a block away.
Yeah, smart.
So that when it let out, I was with the crowd.
Yeah, you weren't by yourself.
I didn't drink at the concert. Once I got back to my room, I had a glass of wine, checked all the closets. Didn't enjoy Nashville at night by myself.
See, these are all the things that we have to do.
But during
as
the
women.
day, had some good walks, went to some good restaurants, got some good barbecue. Yeah, that was really good. And then I saw like Britney Spears' Las Vegas residency. I saw her when she was in Miami after that. I'm trying to think. Oh, my husband and I went and saw Erasure.
Oh,
Yeah, we went and saw them a few years in Orlando, and that was really good. It's kind of trying when I can to go see concerts as much as I can, because we went and saw Churches at House of Blues last summer. They were fantastic.
I bet they were great live.
That was such a good reminder too, like, of how sort of to your point, like, everyone should experience live music.
Live music, there's nothing, and some people are horrible live. Hello, Creed.
I was gonna say not Creed.
Hello,
but
Creed.
maybe Churches, maybe Garth Brooks.
Oh, we saw Blues Traveler one time. Troy and I saw them at an amusement park.
Yes.
I'm like, you like remember weird stuff? Mm-hmm. When we lived in Georgia, when he started pilot training, I don't even know what year that was. It was the early 2000s. So they were like out of their popularity, like their big timeness, Blues Traveler. And I don't know why they were at this amusement park, but we went. And it was cheap because we went to the amusement park and then saw them in concert.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
I've never seen them, but I could see how they would be really good.
Yeah.
I feel like groups that have really good musicians.
Yes.
Not just like a good
Not just a
singer or
show,
two,
right.
but like really good musicians. That makes a difference. So that made a huge difference when we saw Erasure. And Erasure had amazing like backup singers and dancers too that were just like so good.
Fun.
Yeah. And I not to say anything against like, you know, even like synth music or whatever. Even that's great.
Right.
Like just any sort of like creative approach to music that's not just like, I mean, I did see Taylor Swift, I guess, say like a pop star all dressed up, but she's a musician,
but I mean,
and I think that's why I appreciate her.
Everybody likes
you know?
what they like, man. It's all
that's right.
Well, you know what? I did see New Kids another time. I just thought about that. I saw them in Vegas. I saw them 2 other times.
Wow.
Hold up.
Wait, I've seen Elton John in Vegas too. I can't.
Oh,
my husband's gonna,
dream concert.
That I just remembered. I also saw Elton John. This was, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. So, you know, recently for him anyway. It was when he was doing his tour, his residency at Caesar's Palace.
I love Elton.
He was so good. He was so good. He sang everything like I could hear it was transposed like maybe a key lower.
Oh, sure.
But like
Elton.
he sounded amazing. I don't know how you get to be that age and sing that much and sound that good. Like
P.S.
goals.
His autobiography is super interesting.
Really?
You would love it as a
I haven't read
musician.
it. Oh, I would love to
So
read it.
he learns by ear.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And if you watched his movie, like the movie they did about him, they talk about it a little but not a lot. But his autobiography, so interesting.
Okay.
Especially since you're a musician.
Okay. I'll have to
You gotta
check
read
that out.
it. Anyway, okay, so let's end this up. Let me ask you one last question. Kind of spur of the moment. So you have to just, it's quick fire.
Okay, I'm ready.
If you could see any musician or group live, living or dead, who would it be?
Well, you said Aaliyah. I wish I
Yeah.
had seen Aaliyah when she was alive because that I listened to
She was fire.
her music. Probably Selena too in that same
Good.
era. Garth Brooks. I was saying before we started recording today
He's
that
worth it,
like
y'all.
a couple years ago when all my friends were going to the stadium tours and stuff, I was like, man, I wish I'd gotten a ticket because I would just love to see him. And if it happens, manifesting. In sync again.
Oh, snap.
They might be coming back by the time this episode comes out. It may even be announced.
I'll camp in line for tickets in front of my
heck
computer.
yeah. I'll go find a Carson Peary Scott. I don't even think they're open anymore, but
But you know what mine would be?
what?
Queen. Hands down. Living or dead, that's who I'd pick. I would have
That's a good one.
loved to have been. Can you imagine seeing Queen in an arena? Oh my gosh.
No, I
Right?
cannot. That would just be amazing. Yeah, that would have been a good one too.
Freddie Mercury.
Wow.
Yeah, see, now we're just basking in how amazing that'd be. All right. So thank you for listening to us again.
Yes.
You have listened to Generation In Between, a Xennial.
Or Xennial.
We're going to get this word right, okay? Xennial, or whatever I just said, podcast. If you liked what you heard, share with all your friends of all generations. Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you didn't like us, don't worry about it then.
Move on. Keep
Move
scrolling.
on. There's lots of other podcasts out there. You can find us on patreon.com. You can become a monthly supporter and have secret access to bonus episodes. Who knows what we'll get into there. That information is linked in our show notes. So until next time, rock on, Katie.
Rock on and you suck, Ticketmaster.
I know. Boo capitalism.
Bye.